My name is Maya Nguyen, and for as long as I can remember, my parents have treated me less like a daughter and more like the household help. It didn't matter that we lived in a sprawling colonial with marble counters and a chandelier that never stopped glittering. When guests arrived, I was the one carrying trays, refilling glasses, wiping spills while my younger sister Chloe posed for photos in the glow of those crystal lights. Every Thanksgiving, the smell of roasted turkey would mix with bleach on my hands because I'd just scrubbed the bathrooms. Every Christmas, the sound of carols on the piano was drowned out for me by my mother snapping, "Maya, the silverware's crooked. Fix it before anyone sees." She said it like I wasn't standing 2 feet away, like I was invisible staff instead of her child. And for years, I played that role in silence. Until one night, everything shifted. The night my mother's obsession with appearances collided with the truth I'd been building quietly, far away from her gaze. That was the moment the mask cracked, and a single word from a woman she desperately wanted to impress would undo decades of her control. But before I take you into that night, the night she learned who I really was, I want to know, have you ever been treated like the maid in your own family? Share it in the comments. Your story might be the reminder someone else needs today. When I was 17, my parents turned my childhood bedroom into Chloe's studio. I came home from my summer job at the diner and found my trophies, debate medals, a certificate from my volunteer work, boxed up and shoved into the basement. The walls that once held my sketches of city skylines now glowed with Chloe's ring lights and pastel backdrops. Mom smiled like it was a proud upgrade. "Your sister needs space to build her brand, Maya. You'll understand one day." What she didn't say, but I heard anyway, was, "You don't matter as much." From that day, I was assigned the invisible role. Holidays became survival marathons. I'd wake up to the smell of cinnamon candles Mom lit hours before guests arrived, and I'd already be elbow deep in raw turkey, the cold, slick skin clinging to my fingers. My father, Daniel, would tiptoe past the kitchen in his polished loafers, murmuring, "Just go with it, Maya. Don't stir trouble." His voice always hovered between apology and avoidance. Meanwhile, Chloe floated down the staircase like a celebrity, her perfume leaving a trail of vanilla and expensive roses. Guests would laugh, glasses of Pinot clinking, while she told stories about her latest PR campaign. I'd pass the hors d'oeuvres and they'd barely make eye contact. To them, I was the quiet one who helps. And my mother, Vivian, she orchestrated the illusion. She would beam with pride, adjusting Chloe's curls, while throwing me little darts of instruction between breaths. "Maya, don't forget the extra napkins. Maya, stand straighter when you serve. Never a thank you, just orders." Like I was part of the rented staff she didn't have to pay. I used to think maybe it was about money, that if I became successful enough, she'd see me differently. But the irony was bitter. By 25, I'd founded Atlas Facilities Group, and I was already managing cleaning and engineering contracts for corporate campuses. I knew the value of labor, of the people who kept buildings alive after everyone else went home. And yet, in my own family's home, my work was invisible. Once, at Thanksgiving, Chloe bragged about landing a lifestyle brand client. Mom raised her glass, eyes shining. Then an uncle asked casually, "And Maya, what do you do these days?" I opened my mouth, ready to explain that I'd just signed a regional contract worth 7 figures. But Mom laughed, quick and sharp. "Oh, Maya's between things right now. She helps out where she can." The room chuckled politely and my throat closed. I carried the next tray out in silence, the smell of roasted garlic suddenly nauseating. It wasn't just the holidays, it was the everyday dismissals. Chloe borrowed my car without asking, and when I confronted her, she shrugged. It's not like you were using it for anything important. Dad slipped cash into her purse on his way to the golf course, as if she were the fragile one. I bought my own condo in the city, but Mom still called it that little apartment. So, what they never asked, the thing that cut deepest, was how I afforded it. Not once did anyone say, "Tell me about your work, Maya," as if knowing might shatter the convenient story they'd built. Chloe, the golden child, Maya, the help. Sometimes, in the quiet of my condo, I'd scroll through photos on my phone. My team smiling after we'd passed a tough safety audit, or the ribbon cutting of a new campus we managed. Proof of a world where I wasn't invisible. A world where people called me boss, with respect, not sarcasm. But at my parents' house, I was always handed the dish towel, always positioned just out of the frame, always the maid in pearls. And that's the stage where destiny knocked. Because the same family that dismissed my work as nothing more than helping out was about to trip over the truth. The CEO they were desperate to impress, the one they thought would only notice Chloe, already knew me. And she knew me as something my family never dared to imagine. The Riverlight agenda sat open on my laptop, its neat columns listing every checkpoint of tomorrow's site visit, air quality reports, safety compliance audits, a floor-by-floor walkthrough with Eleanor Rhodes herself. My team had been grinding for weeks, tweaking systems, running mock inspections. The contract, 2 years, $2.4 million, was within reach. For us, it meant stability, health coverage, overtime pay. Real lives were tied to those numbers. That's when my phone lit up. Mom. I almost let it ring out, but habit won. "Maya," she said, skipping the greeting, "clear your plans for tomorrow. Chloe's hosting an exclusive supper. 20 guests, donors, board members, and Eleanor Rhodes will be there. We need you here by noon to cook and serve. No excuses." Her words hit like a punch. Eleanor Rhodes. The very name printed across the folder on my desk, the client I'd been preparing to meet at Riverlight. "Mom," I answered carefully, "I already have a commitment tomorrow morning. It's business." A brittle laugh cut through the line. "Business? You live in that little apartment and pretend you're busy. Chloe has a real opportunity here. Eleanor could open doors for her career. All you have to do is what you're good at. Cook, serve, stay quiet. Don't confuse things with whatever it is you do." The subtext was sharp enough to taste. You're not worth presenting. I stared at the gold crest on the contract folder, feeling the raised ink under my thumb. My entire company's future balanced on those pages. "This isn't optional," she pressed, her tone hardening. "Don't ruin this for us. Be useful for once in your life." The silence stretched. Outside my window, a siren wailed somewhere in the city, then faded into nothing. My pulse slowed, steady as if my body already knew what my mouth was about to say. "I can't do it," I told her. The pause on the other end felt like the air being sucked from a room. Then her voice dropped, colder than I'd ever heard it. "If you walk away from this, Maya, don't bother coming back. Family comes first." Family. The word twisted in my chest. Family had always come first when they needed a maid, not when I needed a voice. My hand rested on the Riverlight folder, grounding me in what I had built without them. "I'll be where I'm needed," I said, and hung up. For a moment, the world was still. Then the truth hit. This was no longer just another dinner. It was the spark that would unravel everything. And from here, everything fell apart. I didn't sleep much that night, not because I was afraid of my mother's ultimatum. That old weapon had lost its sharp edge, but because my mind was busy arranging a different kind of plan. one that would protect what mattered to me without letting their chaos drag me under. I started with a blank notepad, the same one I used for operational checklists. On it, I wrote 3 catering companies in the city that specialized in last-minute emergencies. Each had 24-hour hotlines, menus designed for impossible turnarounds, and the kind of staff that could make a room sparkle in under an hour. I knew because I'd worked with them before, quietly, on projects my mother never bothered to notice. Next, I scribbled a quick allergen chart, just in case she hadn't thought of the gluten sensitivity she once waved off as trendy nonsense. I left spaces for portion sizes, serving order, even a reminder about wine pairings. It wasn't compliance, it was insurance. A way of saying, I won't be your servant, but I won't let you fall flat without a chance either. By 2 a.m., I had taped the sheet to my fridge door next to a neat envelope with a copy of my business card. Maya Nguyen, CEO, Atlas Facilities Group. I doubted they'd use it. I doubted they'd even glance at it. But I needed to know I'd given them a way out that didn't involve me. The next morning, the city air felt sharper, like the world had shifted half a degree. I pulled on my company jacket, clipped my ID badge to my collar, and took the train out to the River Light campus. The car rocked gently, fluorescent lights flickering, the smell of burnt coffee lingering from the conductor's thermos. I thumbed through the site visit agenda as the city blurred past. 9 Ewi, facility walkthrough. 10:15, systems demonstration. 11:30, stakeholder Q&A. Every line read like a heartbeat, steady and necessary. This was where I belonged. At the office, my team was already buzzing. Luis had double-checked the HVAC sensors, Noor was testing emergency lighting, and Priya had set up a small hospitality station with fresh fruit and coffee for the visiting executives. "Boss," Luis said, handing me a clipboard, "we're green across the board, even the elevators." I smiled. They called me boss with respect, not derision. And for the first time in years, I felt the difference in my bones. Back at my parents' house, I imagined my mother polishing her Wedgwood china, barking orders at Chloe. Maybe she'd find my note. Maybe she wouldn't. Either way, the choice wasn't mine to carry anymore, because my plan wasn't to expose them, humiliate them, or seek revenge. My plan was to show up fully where I was needed, and by doing that, I knew the truth would reveal itself, without me lifting a single serving tray. The morning of Christmas Eve broke cold and sharp. My alarm went off at 5, but I was already awake. Steam rose from my mug of green tea as I scanned the final checklist for the River Light walkthrough. Everything in my apartment was ordered. Laptop bag zipped, blazer pressed, folder waiting. Calm, steady. But across town, another kind of morning was beginning. At my parents' house, Vivian barked instructions over the thud of cupboard doors. "Chloe, where are the menu cards? Did you iron the table runner? Don't make me ask twice." The Wedgwood china clinked as she set it down, each plate a relic of appearances. Chloe's phone buzzed with group texts from her influencer friends, and she barely looked up. "Mom, relax. It's dinner, not a coronation." Vivian spun on her, eyes flashing. "It is a coronation. Eleanor Rhodes is coming. This dinner determines our standing for the next year." She didn't mention me. She never did. By noon, the kitchen counters gleamed but remained bare. No scent of roasting meat, no simmering sauces, just silence, broken by the occasional slam of the fridge. My note with the caterer hotlines sat crumpled in the recycling bin, dismissed as if planning itself were beneath her. Meanwhile, in the River Light lobby, my team gathered around me. Luis handed me the latest HVAC report. Noor adjusted her ID badge. Priya smoothed her blazer. The faint hum of the hospital's ventilation system thrummed through the tiled floor. We were ready. Back at the house, panic cracked the illusion. The oven beeped in protest, its temperature dial stuck at 200 degrees. Vivian slapped the panel. "Why isn't this working? Chloe, call someone." "It's Christmas Eve, Mom. No one's picking up." A candle toppled from the mantel when she rushed past, setting off the smoke alarm. Shrill beeping filled the house. Guests weren't even there yet, and already the air smelled of melted wax and panic. Vivian snatched her phone, dialing me. I let it buzz out on silent, the screen face down on my desk while I reviewed tomorrow's Q&A prompts. Boundaries held. When the call went to voicemail, she tried again and again. By the fourth missed call, Chloe's texts came pouring in. "Mom says you're ruining this. We don't even have food. Do you want us to starve in front of Eleanor? Fine, you win, just come." I typed nothing back. By 5:30, cars began pulling into the driveway. The smell of perfume and cigar smoke wafted through the halls. Vivian pasted on her smile, the same one she'd worn at every gala, every fundraiser. But behind it, her jaw clenched so tight, her temples pulsed. "Please, enjoy some hors d'oeuvres," she told the first wave of guests, waving vaguely toward a platter of crackers and baby carrots. One man raised an eyebrow. Chloe, cheeks flushed, snapped selfies by the fireplace, trying to crop out the empty platters in the background. At 6 Eleanor's driver pulled up. Vivian's breath caught as she opened the door. And there she was, Eleanor Rhodes, tailored navy suit, a woman whose time was worth more than the entire table setting combined. "Welcome, welcome," Vivian gushed, her voice trembling with a mix of awe and terror. "Dinner will be served shortly." Except there was no dinner. By now, the kitchen was chaos. The only meat in the fridge was a pack of frozen hot dogs and a lone rotisserie chicken, half-eaten from the night before. Chloe microwaved the hot dogs, the smell of rubbery pork filling the air. Vivian, desperate, barked, "Plate them on the Wedgwood! Presentation is everything!" And so they did. Slimy hot dogs laid out in perfect circles on porcelain, worth more than a month's rent. The dissonance was almost art. When the guests sat down, Eleanor among them, the room stilled. Lids lifted. Steam from microwaved potatoes clung to the crystal stemware. Someone coughed. Eleanor's eyes flicked from the porcelain to the food, her expression unreadable. Vivian jumped in with rehearsed small talk, her voice brittle. We wanted to keep things simple, authentic. But the illusion cracked again when a guest whispered too loudly, "Is that ketchup?" The humiliation was palpable. Meanwhile, in the quiet of my apartment, I stood at my window, city lights glittering like stars scattered across concrete. My phone buzzed relentlessly on the counter. I flipped it over once to see 12 missed calls, all from Mom, another from Dad, 3 from Chloe. I didn't answer. Instead, I set my alarm for 6 a.m., laid out my blazer, and tucked the Riverlight folder into my bag. The hum of the radiator filled the silence. Calm, steady. Back at the table, Chloe tried to pivot. She leaned toward Eleanor, her tone sweet but forced. "Actually, Ms. Rhodes, I run a boutique PR firm. We'd love to work with Riverlight on your next campaign." Eleanor dabbed her lips politely with a napkin. "Is that so?" she murmured. Her gaze lingered a moment longer on the porcelain plate smeared with mustard, then on Chloe's nervous hands. Vivian rushed in to fill the silence. "Chloe is our success story. Maya, well, she helps around when she can. She doesn't have the head for big opportunities." The words slid into the air like knives. They thought they were safe, said behind my back as if the echo wouldn't find me. But the echo had already started. Somewhere in the crowd, a guest snapped a photo of the spectacle. Wedgwood china holding microwaved hot dogs, Chloe mid-pitch, Vivian gesturing wildly. A photo destined to leave that dining room. And in the corner, Eleanor's assistant whispered something in her ear. Eleanor's brow arched, her lips pressing into a line. The night had barely begun, but the damage was done. And miles away, with my phone face down and my heart steady, I knew the unraveling was in motion. The gauntlet had begun, my family's illusions collapsing in front of the very woman they wanted most to impress. And all I had done was step back. The hospital lobby was all glass and light, the kind that makes even winter feel clean. Citrus disinfectant hung faintly in the air, layered over fresh coffee from the kiosk. My badge beeped green at the turnstile, and the floor vibrated with the low, steady hum of the ventilation system. Noor waved from the security desk. Luis rolled past with a toolbox like it was an extension of his arm. We were early, on purpose. Conference room B is set, Priya said, sliding a stack of printed agendas into my hands. Sensor dashboards are live. If they ask for historical variance, we have it. Good, I said, more breath than voice. Calm settled in my bones the way it always does when the work is honest and the plan is tight. The elevator pinged. Footsteps, measured, confident, clicked across the terrazzo. I turned. Eleanor Rhodes approached with her assistant, a navy suit sharp enough to cut glass, the exact same calm in her stride that I felt in my chest. Her gaze skimmed the lobby, then found me. The corner of her mouth lifted, as if we were in on the same quiet joke. "Morning, boss," she said. The word landed like a bell. Noor glanced up and grinned. Luis straightened. For a beat, the lobby exhaled with me. I opened my mouth to return the greeting when I caught movement in my periphery. 2 visitor badges being clipped to 2 familiar coats. My mother's perfume arrived a half second before she did, roses and something colder underneath. Beside her, Chloe in camel wool and perfect lipstick, phone in hand like a talisman. "Miss Rhodes," Vivian sang, smoothing a non-existent wrinkle from her sleeve. "What a coincidence. We thought we'd accompany you. We so enjoyed last night." Her smile tightened on the last word, a flicker of static crossing her face. Eleanor's expression didn't change, but her assistant's eyes flicked from Vivian to the visitor log and back again. "Good morning," Eleanor said. "We're about to start our operations walkthrough." Vivian turned to me as if I'd materialized out of the floor. She recovered in an instant. "Maya, there you are," she said brightly, then lowered her voice. "We'll discuss your behavior later." Behind her, the digital donor wall cycled through names: bronze, silver, gold. Then a slate blue panel slid into view. Riverlight thanks its operations partner, Atlas Facilities Group. The AFG logo, our logo, filled the screen, crisp as the air. Chloe's eyes tracked it, then darted to the badge on my chest. Her smile faltered like a light losing power. "Operations partner?" she said, aiming it at the room but meaning it for me. "You mean like a vendor?" Luis leaned to me without looking away from his tablet. "Dashboards are green, boss," he murmured. It wasn't for show. It was just how our mornings sound. Eleanor followed Chloe's gaze to the donor wall, then back to me with a small nod that read as, "Yes, this is exactly right." She turned to Vivian. "Mrs. Tran, Chloe," she said with the ease of someone used to steering rooms, "allow me to introduce Ms. Maya Nguyen, the CEO of Atlas Facilities Group. Her team has been running Riverlight's campus operations for the past 18 months. She let the information breathe. We're here to review an expansion." Silence is funny. It can be heavy or it can be loud. This one was both. Vivian's smile held, but her eyes didn't know where to land. On my badge, on the donor wall, on Eleanor's mouth forming the letters CEO. She found a new sentence and reached for it like a ledge. "Ah," she said, breathy. "So you work here." "I lead the team that keeps this building safe," I said gently. "Cleaning, engineering, life safety, event ops." The words were simple. I wasn't explaining for her. I was honoring the people who just walked 3 miles of corridor before sunrise. Chloe laughed once, soft and disbelieving. "CEO," she repeated, trying the shape of it like a shoe she wasn't sure would fit. "Since when?" "Since she built it," a voice said behind me. I turned. My father stood near the security desk, his coat unbuttoned as if he'd rushed. He looked smaller than I remembered and clearer all at once. He nodded at Noor, at Luis, then at me, like he was counting the witnesses he needed for this next part of his life. "Maya," he said, and then to Eleanor, "she's always been the one who keeps things running." He didn't touch me. He didn't have to. Something in my ribs loosened anyway. Vivian's mouth tightened. "Daniel," she whispered, warning and plea wrapped together. Eleanor's assistant checked her watch. "We should begin," she said, practical mercy slicing through the theater. Eleanor gestured toward the corridor. "Miss Nguyen, would you lead?" There was no ceremony to it, just expectation, just trust. We moved as a unit, me, my team, Eleanor, and her assistant. My mother and sister fell in step because they didn't know what else to do. As we approached the badge-controlled door, the card reader flashed. I tapped my key. The lock popped with that satisfying click I've loved since the first time I felt like I had a key to my own life. Inside, the air cooled another few degrees, the steady thrum of the air handlers wrapping around us. Priya pointed to the live dashboard on a mounted screen. Color-coded maps, particulate matter counts, HVAC loads, work that never makes a gala speech. Chloe leaned toward me, voice low, meant to stay off mic. "You could have told us," she said, the words flat, but the subtext caught between accusation and awe. "I tried," I answered, equally low. "You didn't ask." Ahead, Eleanor waited beside the mechanical room door, the kind of heavy steel people ignore unless their lives depend on it. She looked at me, then at my family, and something almost like kindness crossed her face. Not pity, recognition. "Shall we?" she said. I palmed the handle. The metal was cool, the kind of cold that wakes you up. As the door swung open, the heartbeat of the building swelled. Fans, compressors, the measured breath of a place that holds strangers' worst days and tries to make them better. Vivian flinched at the noise, as if the work itself were too loud. She opened her mouth, searching for a way to turn the moment, to tuck it back into a story she could live with. Eleanor saved her the effort. "Mrs. Tran," she said, voice even, "you should know, if Riverlight has felt exceptionally well run this past year, it's because of Miss Nguyen and the people she leads." She didn't look at me when she said it. She looked at Noor, at Luis, at Priya. "They're not invisible here." Something like color broke in my father's face. He pressed his lips together, nodded once. "That's my daughter," he said softly, to no one and everyone. There was nothing left to say that didn't cheapen the room, so I didn't. I pointed to the heat exchanger panel, and we stepped into the work. The walkthrough ended in conference room B, where sunlight filtered through frosted glass and caught the steam rising from our coffee urns. My team had laid out fresh fruit, pastries, and printed packets bound neatly with AFG's logo. No Wedgwood china, no candlelight illusions, just clean lines, clear data, and respect for the people in the room. Eleanor sat at the head of the table, flipping through the reports. She paused at the HVAC dashboard graphs, her nails tapping the paper. Consistent, she said. That's rare in facilities. Most vendors sell stability and deliver excuses. I nodded once. We don't trade in excuses. Louise chuckled softly, remembering the countless nights we'd patch systems no one else noticed. Priya met my eyes with a spark of pride. Across the table, my mother shifted in her chair. Her blazer looked expensive, but under the fluorescent light, the seams showed strain. Chloe scrolled on her phone like it was a lifeline, her knuckles white. They didn't belong in this room, and for the first time, I wasn't the one who felt out of place. Eleanor's assistant leaned in. We're prepared to finalize the extension. 2 years, 2.4 million pending signatures. She slid the contract forward, a pen balanced on top. My throat tightened, but not from nerves, from relief, from knowing that the people who cleaned these halls at 2 a.m., the ones who replaced filters and fixed leaks without applause, would see their work secured. I signed my name. The ink spread smoothly across the page, bold and unbroken. Applause rippled from my team. Noor clapped once, sharp, then grinned. Told you, she whispered. The weight I'd carried for years, the invisibility, the dismissal, shifted. For the first time, I wasn't shrinking to fit someone else's story. My phone buzzed against the table, a text from Mom. Maya, smile. People are watching. I turned the screen face down. Eleanor stood, raising her glass of sparkling water. To Maya and Atlas Facilities Group, for proving that the backbone of care isn't just doctors and donors, but the people who keep the lights on and the air safe to breathe. Glasses clinked. My team's faces glowed with pride. Across the room, my mother's smile looked frozen, brittle as porcelain. That afternoon, the fallout began. By the time I checked my email, a local health industry blog had already posted about the contract signing, complete with a photo of me and Eleanor shaking hands. The headline read, Atlas Facilities secures major expansion with Riverlight Health. The photo wasn't glamorous. No gowns, no chandeliers, just a conference room, a contract, and 2 women smiling like the deal had already changed lives. Back in Connecticut, the dinner debacle had gone viral in smaller circles. Someone had uploaded a snapshot to LinkedIn. Hot dogs plated on Wedgwood, captions dripping with disbelief. Comments multiplied, a surreal night of mismatched priorities. When appearances outpace substance. My mother's name threaded through the gossip like smoke. Chloe's hasty PR pitch had been mentioned too, dismissed as tone-deaf and ill-timed. And me? My name wasn't in their scandal. It was in the contract news, clean, untouchable. That evening, Dad called. His voice carried something new. Hesitation, yes, but also humility. Maya, he said, I need to say, I should have spoken sooner. I let your mother's story stand because it was easier than fighting it. But today I saw the truth. I'm sorry. I didn't answer right away. I let the silence weigh heavy, the way theirs had sat on me for years. Finally, Dad, apologies don't change the past, but they can shape the future. He exhaled like he'd been holding that breath for a decade. The next morning, Vivian left me a voicemail, her voice thick. People are asking questions. They're calling me, wanting to know how we didn't realize you were successful. They think we lied. You humiliated us. But I hadn't said a word. The humiliation came from their own blindness, their own need to keep me small. That weekend, the Riverlight press release went live. Atlas Facilities Group expands partnership to enhance patient experience. My name was there in bold, quoted alongside Eleanor's. Not a whisper about family. Just work. Just respect. For my team, it meant bonuses, new hires, stability. For me, it meant freedom. For my family, it meant consequences. Chloe lost a client contract when word of the dinner spread. Donors quietly stepped back from Mom's fundraising circle. And in the quiet, I knew. It wasn't revenge. It was gravity. They tripped on their own illusions. At the next team meeting, Maria, one of my shift leads, raised her coffee cup. You know what I love about this company? We don't have to hide who we are to be valued. We're seen. I swallowed hard because she was right. For the first time, I was too. And as the hum of the building filled the silence, I knew this was the payoff I'd been waiting for. Not their regret, but our recognition. 3 months later, snow still lingered in shaded corners of the city. But inside our new Atlas office, the air was warm with the hum of conversation. We just finished onboarding a fresh wave of employees, janitors, engineers, custodial staff, faces bright with both nerves and hope. Their laughter spilled down the hallway, mixing with the low whir of printers and the comforting scent of fresh paint. On the wall behind my desk, a framed poster displayed the words we'd chosen as our scholarship program's name, Hands That Build. We had just awarded the first round of scholarships to the children of frontline workers. Watching those teenagers clutch their acceptance letters with trembling hands reminded me why this mattered. This was the legacy I wanted. Not porcelain illusions, not forced smiles, but doors opening for people who deserve them. My family had begun circling back cautiously. Chloe sent a professional deck, clean, data-driven, no glossy shortcuts. She'd even added a section titled Ethics and Accountability. It was her first real attempt at standing on her own merit. I didn't say yes right away. I told her we'd pilot one campaign under the same terms I gave any vendor. She accepted without flinching. Mom surprised me most. One Saturday morning, she texted a photo. Her hair tied back, sneakers on, a disposable apron draped over her. The caption read, "Volunteering at the hospital today, one shift at a time." For the first time, her words carried no performance, just effort. Dad kept showing up in quiet ways, dropping off home-cooked soup when my schedule ran late, telling anyone who would listen that his daughter ran the team that kept the city's largest hospital alive. But the peace I felt didn't depend on them. It lived in the small rituals. The way Noor signed off her shift with a wave every night. The way Luis left sticky notes on my desk with HVAC jokes. The way our buildings breathed because invisible hands made them so. Looking out over the city skyline, I thought about all the years I'd been told I was only useful in the kitchen, in the background. And now, my life had become proof of something bigger. Respect is non-negotiable. Success doesn't need permission, and family only counts when it comes with dignity. So if you've ever been made to feel invisible in your own home, hear me now. You are not invisible. You are the architect of your own worth. If any part of this hit close to home, take a breath with me. Now tell me in the comments, have you ever been treated like the help in your own family? What single boundary changed everything for you? If you're comfortable, start with, my boundary was. Your story might be the nudge someone needs tonight. If this helped you stand a little taller, tap like so it reaches more people who need it. And if you want more real, faceless stories about dignity, family, and choosing yourself, subscribe. We're building a community that refuses to stay small. Share this with the friend who needs a reminder. Respect is non-negotiable.